This is the CBS Weekend News with Dan Rather.
Good evening. President Ford has wound up his Colorado vacation and taken off on a slow return to Washington. He's in Chicago tonight, he'll be in Milwaukee tomorrow, and he's already dedicated a power plant in Montana. Bob Schieffer has that story.
Northwestern Montana's Libby Dam is part of a joint Canadian-American flood control project, but the dedication ceremony turned into a forum on energy problems. Like the United States, Canada is feeling the energy pinch and is phasing out the sale of oil and gas to the United States. Defending that policy in his dedication remarks, Canada's Resource Minister Donald MacDonald said the United States must no longer look on its northern neighbor as a vast energy storehouse. That was not good news to Mr. Ford, but neither was it unexpected. And he used it as a springboard for his favorite theme, that the United States must become energy independent or face dire consequences.
In the final analysis, each nation must ultimately cope with its own energy needs and problems of supply. Enlightened self-interest, as the minister said, is the key phrase. We must, all Americans in Congress must, realize that this is our problem to meet and to solve. We cannot look elsewhere for the total solution.
Then the focus was back on electric power as the two threw a giant switch activating the dam's electricity-producing generators. Bob Schieffer, CBS News, Libby, Montana.
Mr. Ford returns to Washington tomorrow evening with the intention of vetoing the extension of oil price controls, but he'll be getting some advice to the contrary. Senator Mansfield said today he'll try to talk the president out of that, and Mobil Oil has now come out in favor of phased decontrol to protect what the company calls the fragile economy. About 40,000 coal miners are out now in a wildcat strike that has spread from the southern coal fields of West Virginia into parts of Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio. Ed Bradley reports.
Most of these miners have already missed 2 paychecks and are facing the loss of still another in the 3rd week of their illegal strike. It started here in the hills of West Virginia and spread to parts of Ohio, Kentucky, and Virginia. They're ignoring a court injunction ordering them back to work.
Stopping the injunctions boils down to only one thing. It boils down to the right to strike. If we strike, they can't bring in the injunctions. That's what we want. That's what we have to have. Now, are we going to wait for 2.5 more years to get this right to strike? No!
Arnold Miller, president of the United Mine Workers Union, has ordered the men back to work, but the miners aren't listening. The rally in a roadside park was brief. A local union leader led the vote to stay out.
Raise your hand and say yeah. Yeah! Okay, I think that's settled. We don't have no work this weekend. By God, that means nobody works.
This vote means the union members are prepared to do battle not only with the coal companies and the courts, but their own national union leadership as well. They want to see this strike spread, if necessary, to every coal mine in the country. They want the right to strike, and they're going to strike to get it. Ed Bradley, CBS News, Daltrey Creek, West Virginia.
You know, I'm enjoying my retirement more than ever. You want to know why? Well, my savings and loan is offering a brand new service. I went in and signed a simple application. It means that from now on, my monthly Social Security checks will be mailed directly to my savings account. This new service is quick, safe, and a lot easier for me. And I sure like that high interest rate. Why not stop in at your savings and loan and sign up?
Grandpa, I got one!
This is Super Dennis. Jeans fear him. Seams split, zippers fall, rivets pop. So we challenged him to try to destroy Super Denims, the incredibly tough jeans from JCPenney. The fabric, a rugged, heavyweight, long-lasting denim. The seams clamped tight with extra strong thread, stress points riveted. And most important of all, the knees are specially reinforced. Super Denim jeans. They're built to take the kind of punishment your Super Dennis dishes out.
Federal Reserve Board Chairman Arthur Burns today appeared on the CBS broadcast Face the Nation, and he talked about inflation and the Soviet grain deals. Gary Shepard reports.
Dr. Burns says he thinks the latest Soviet grain deal is going to send food prices here at home up more than Agriculture Secretary Earl Butz thinks. Last week, Butz estimated that prices will rise 1.5% because of that deal, but Burns says he thinks that estimate is too low.
My guess is, on the basis of present indications, that the increase by the end of 1976 would be a little more than that.
How much more?
Oh, somewhat more. I can't give you a figure.
Dr. Byrne, 10% perhaps?
Oh, no. No. It might be 2%, might be 2.5%. I think that's the order of magnitude.
Noting that the July cost of living figures show retail prices rising at an annual rate of better than 14%, Dr. Byrne said he hopes and expects the return to double-digit inflation is only temporary and serves as a warning. The Federal Reserve, he said, has no present intention of holding down the growth in the money supply any more than it already is to fight inflation. Burns also said he does not think that New York City will default in redeeming its notes and bonds when they come due, and he confirmed that the Fed, as lender of last resort, will help banks that run into liquidity problems. Burns didn't say so, but the inference was the Fed will bail out the banks if the banks bail out cities in financial trouble. Gary Shepard, CBS News, Washington.
Not all fabric softeners are alike. Introducing Stay Puft Blue. It's different. Watch and I'll show you why. Stay Puft Blue has a unique formula that softens as well as you could ever want. But compared to the leading brand, Stay Puft Blue helps towels keep more of their natural absorbency. See? With Stay Puft Blue, towels absorb more like they should. And your entire wash is soft and fresh smelling. Stay Puft Blue. Now there's a difference.
It's not just athletes that get athlete's foot. Innocent men, women, and children can get it too, just by coming in contact with it. And man, does it itch. Well, the first itch you feel, you spray on MP27. MP27 will kill that athlete's foot fungus and help keep it from coming back. Believe me, I've seen a whole lot of scratching going on. MP27 is the end of the itch.
Diplomatic sources in Jerusalem say that Kissinger shuttle diplomacy has produced general agreement now on the major issues involving Egypt and Israel, including the use of American technicians to monitor any violations of the Sinai peace. Those reports of progress came after a special meeting of the Israeli cabinet. Bernard Kalb has that story.
This was no ordinary Sunday cabinet meeting. It was a strategy session to review Israel's negotiating position on the few remaining issues that still have to be negotiated with the Egyptians. Not so much political as territorial, such as who would be exactly where in the Sinai. An awareness throughout the session that the expected agreement with Egypt is an attempt to make a breakthrough to peace. The requirements of the Israeli position were later detailed for Kissinger, who's been radiating a steady optimism that an agreement will be reached. He flies to Alexandria tomorrow to meet with President Sadat. One extremely important point, as reported here, is that the agreement will in effect contain a so-called secret Egyptian undertaking not to join in a war on Israel launched by another Arab state during the duration of the agreement. Egypt, however, is free to act if Cairo decides Israel is the aggressor.
I can't be sure because we have not actually started drafting anything yet. That will become clearer in a number of days, but we are making progress.
An indication of the distrust between the two sides is underlined by the results of a public opinion poll just released here. About 80% of the Israelis believing that President Sadat of Egypt will not honor an interim agreement should he sign one for a 3-year period. The same percentage believing that war may break out within less than 5 years. Bernard Kalb, CBS News, Jerusalem.
Charles Revson died today in New York. He was 68. He had built a small nail polish business into the Revlon empire, one of the world's largest cosmetic manufacturers. The Federal Trade Commission today charged the Block Drug Company with making false and unsubstantiated claims for its denture products, Polident Cleanser and Polygrip Adhesive. The FTC says that Polygrip and Super Polygrip don't really spare the person who wears dentures from the embarrassment and discomfort of eating so-called problem foods such as apples. The FTC also says the company doesn't have any reasonable basis for saying that its Polident cleans any better than the competition's. Block Drug Company has 30 days to answer those charges. Heavy thunderstorms flooded areas of Cleveland today. The U.S. Coast Guard and local police sent boats to rescue people from flooded houses and submerged automobiles. A child was killed by lightning, and a young girl is missing and feared drowned. While police were rescuing people, there were reports of widespread looting. Ed Halisick of the San Francisco Giants pitched a no-hitter against the New York Mets tonight. He walked only 2 batters. Another reached base on an error. There's been only one other no-hitter in the major leagues this year, Nolan Ryan's. Final score tonight, Giants 6, Mets nothing in a no-hitter. And they call it the Moonlight Ramble. It started at 2 a.m. today, maybe 20,000 wheels, 10,000 handlebars, and that same number of people riding through the streets of St. Louis with city lights substituting for the moon when necessary.
I got something to show you. This here is a Kodak prepaid processing mailer. You just put your Kodak film inside, stick on a stamp, and hand it to the mailman. Then you set a spell while Kodak makes your film into pretty pictures. Before long, the mailman brings them back, delivers them to you personal. Oh, them's pictures. Get you some Kodak mailers, huh? Beats walking into town.
How would you like a free sample of the new Kotex Light Days oval pads? Well, they put one in these magazines. It's not a coupon, not an ad, but an actual sample of the new Kotex Light Days oval pads in a sealed envelope. When you see it, you'll know why these new pads have been called the most revolutionary product of their kind. So pick up this month's Family Circle before it's sold out. There's something in it for you from Kotex. New beltless Kotex Light Days oval pads.
To many of us who have visited Calcutta, India, it is a never-to-be-forgotten shock. 8 million humans crowded in squalor and abject poverty. Hunger everywhere. Few resources to fight it. Richard Threlkeld reports tonight on one man's effort to do the impossible.
They've slept on the streets, bathed in a mud puddle, and now they've come in from a monsoon rain to line up for the only meal all day they can count on. It's lunchtime at the Salvation Army in Calcutta, one of the hungriest cities in the world. And the man behind the stew kettle is Major Dudley Gardner of Her Majesty's Royal Fusiliers, retired. 7 days a week, Dudley Gardner feeds people, 7,000 of them every day. A menu he's begged or borrowed or paid for out of his own pocket. He grew up in India, son of a soldier, joined up and fought the Battle of Singapore, trudged through Burma, landed at Suez, and after 36 years of soldiering, he came to learn a lesson about war.
It's the people, the poor people in the villages who are upended, lose everything and suffer. And I realized that after I completed my 36 years. And I thought to myself, I'll see if I can do 36 years helping the poor people, if I can possibly do that.
So for 19 years, Dudley Gardner's been standing there, ladling out his homemade stew. Women picking up a stew pot for the whole family. And the children from the street corners.
They come from families who have too many children in the homes, and they all come from parents, and they all know where they can go back to if they want to. Dead kids, but lovable children. And we have many, many, many thousands of them in Calcutta.
Major Gardner should know about these children. He's adopted 9 of them, sons who will keep the stew pots boiling when he's gone. And there are the orphans he's putting through school all over India. After a while watching him there, you almost begin to believe that maybe Dudley Gardner is right. Maybe you do cure hunger one spoonful at a time. Richard Threlkeld, CBS News, Calcutta.
Dan Rather, CBS News, New York. Thank you for joining us.
This has been the CBS Weekend News with Dan Rather. Love, warmth, and laughter are the secret ingredients in the medicine prescribed by Doc in great family comedy coming to Saturday night, starting in September, here on CBS.